Well, let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause here as we come into this maintainer division. I think a nice set of females here in this go-round. And some differences in these females, and I think some differences in how they're handling their rib shape and where they're at just at this point of the juncture. But we come up on this top end. The young man's captain's going to lead off this class. I like this female in terms of balance. I think when she gets out here, she's a female that makes you take notice in terms of rib shape as well. I think very big rib when we start to talk about her from that rear rib shape. She's deep in that flank. I like her in terms of the way she goes into that full rib. I do think she handles herself a little freer, a little easier than some of these other females in this particular lineup. And I like her when we get her out here in terms of the way she balances out of that hip. I think she's a little leveler for hooks or pins. I think she's a little flatter moving when we get her out on that move down that top line. And I think certainly a female with as much rib shape she's got, she maintains femininity and swings up into that front end. So a very complete type female here in this go-round. Young lady's female that's next here in this lineup. I like this female on that profile. I think she's a deep body, deep flank type of a female. I think certainly on a standstill, she gives you a lot of depth to her from that side view. Now we're going to get a little critical of hers. I do think at times she gets a little more down or a little more off right at that hip when we get her out into the move in comparison to that class winner. But I think certainly when you start talking about overall rib shape and dimension, a female that has a lot of production to her in terms of looseness of rib shape and volume going forward to be a successful mama cow back in the field. Young man's female that's next here in this lineup. I like this female in terms of her parts and pieces. I think she's thick enough made. I think she's heavy enough muscle down that top. I think she's thick enough made when you get right behind her. Now, where I get just to take critical of her is right up into that front end, right as we go into that forearm. I do think she's a little tighter, a little more restricted right into that front. Not as loose about that overall rib shape and dimension in comparison to those other two females, but she does give you some skeletal width and dimension and some muscle shape that you do appreciate. Young man's female that's next here in this lineup. It's an interesting female on this lineup because honestly, balance-wise, she's as balanced as any of them in this class. I think she's smooth enough shouldered. I think she's up-headed enough. I think she's very feminine. Now, I think she comes off being just a little flatter about not only her rib shape, but a little flatter about her muscle as well here in this particular go-round. I just like to see her be a little softer, give you a little more overall volume and capacity in this go-round to move her on up. Female that comes next in this lineup, I like her in terms of rear rib. I think certainly she gives you some dimension of rib shape as we get towards that rear end and that flank of her. She's got enough muscle to her. Now, balance-wise, I do think she gets a little bolder, just a tick coarser about that front end. Maybe not as smooth, maybe not as feminine as we get right into the top of that shoulder. But a nice set of females in that maintainer division. So let's give them all another nice big round of applause.
Results for the maintainer division. First place in your champion maintainer heifer is exhibited by Luke Fulkerson. Tessa Schott exhibits your reserve champion maintainer heifer. In third place in your homegrown champion is Matthew Baylor. Fourth, Cole Marley. And fifth, Payton Swinney. There is no reserve champion homegrown for this class. Next, we will have class 7,